Margaret Licklider, and I'm a middle school Spanish teacher at McKinley Classical Leadership Academy. It's a gifted middle school in St. Louis Public Schools, and this is my unit design. So the goals of this unit are specifically for my 6th grade class. So this is like my first group of students whenever they enter middle school. So it's a really basic level course because some students come in with lots of experience, others come in with no experience, but all of them don't have experience with really communicating in the language. If they have experience, they've been learning from a textbook and memorizing vocabulary and working on grammatical constructions. So this is a much more communication-based class. So our goals are students understand the practices of language acquisition classroom, students connect with others through the language, students engage in small talk to start conversation, students communicate features of their environment. So because this is the introduction to our class, we work a lot on what is a language acquisition classroom and what are some strategies that we already know as communicators that can help us communicate in this new language. And it's sort of just teaching students how to be in this type of classroom. And then as they're learning that, we have different topics that we talk about, such as our likes and dislikes, how we can connect with people, talking about likes and dislikes, such as small talk, talking about the weather or the calendar, but then also communicating features of the environment. So telling me about the setting of a story or the room that we're in. So these are the 10 objectives. The first 6 objectives are our classroom rules. So the students, gifted students in particular, really like these because we get to talk about what's happening in our brain as we're acquiring a second language and why we're doing the activities that we're doing. It's all based on research and how our brains make neural networks and connect context with words. So they really enjoy those first 6 objectives. And then the last 4 are more topic specific. It's talking about the date, it's talking about the setting. We're more focused on, we're talking about these topics in the language. So after students get through all of the objectives, the expected outcomes are their skills assessments and then also making a poster. So they take a listening assessment, a reading assessment, and a writing assessment. And for the listening and the reading, I'm scoring them in this retell rubric where they're just telling me at this point, describing the setting of a story with 4 or more details. A story that they hear, a story that they read. The writing assessment is a baseline assessment, and it's just a free write. So we're working on writing fluency and not writing accuracy. So students just manipulate the language that they know and write as many different sentences as they can in 10 minutes. Then other evidence is the second language acquisition poster. This is a poster that they make explaining why I teach the way I teach and the different philosophies and psychology that goes into second language acquisition that they've been learning throughout the unit. And then they make a poster and they take it home and they teach their family why our class works the way it works. So these are some of the different activities that connect us up to those final assessments. Week 1, we make name tags to talk about likes and dislikes. And that's whenever we're really practicing our different listening skills and communication skills. Week 2, we're making doodles. In the doodles, students will write a word in Spanish and then they'll draw a picture to show the meaning of that word. That way they're connecting that word directly with the concept instead of thinking Spanish word, English word, concept. And then in week 3, we're talking about the calendar, and the students make a weather report. They can do that either orally speaking or they can write it out. So that's an option for them. And then they are scored on the interpersonal communication skills rubric. So when we're in Spanish zone, I'm scoring them to see if they're listening with the intent to understand and if they're supporting the flow of conversation. And we've talked about different strategies and things you can do to help you meet those criteria. And then in week 4, we're really working on describing the setting, getting ready for that assessment where they're going to have to describe the setting. And we do that with a familiar story about La Llorona. So the differentiation in this unit is by content, process, and product. The content is differentiated because the students make suggestions to me. When we talk about their likes, there's not a pre-generated generic list of what students this age like. They're telling me what they like, and I'm interpreting that into Spanish, and we can talk about it. The process is differentiated because we focus on all of our communication skills: listening, reading, writing, and speaking. There's never one day where it's just all one skill. And then the product is differentiated because students have choice in how they can complete their projects. So for the weather report, they could speak their weather report and tell me different weathers that they know, or they could write it out. Most of them at this point in the year choose writing because speaking is like a really self-conscious skill. So at this point, this is the 4th year that I've done this unit, and each year it gets more and more successful. The first year, I really revised it and just sort of personalized it. I was using Tina Hargadon and Ben Slavic's curriculum that they have called the Natural Approach to the Year, and I was just following it day by day. But then the second year, I was kind of like, this doesn't really work for my style. The students really didn't like this. So I kind of picked it out and made it more personable for our gifted community at McKinley. Moving forward, I want to incorporate more culture into the unit because it's a really heavily communication-based unit. The students really like learning about culture. So this year we talked about the Aztec calendar, and then we talked about the La Llorona story, a Mexican folktale. So I think the more culture I can incorporate into the content, the better it will be. Thank you. Let me know if you have any questions.